Hey, boomers, about a year ago, I made my decision. I made a lot of decisions a year ago, October, this month. And we're a year later. It's been a year since I made that decision to take Social Security, and about 9 months since I've first started to receive it. And I'm still working because this video is going to be about those choices I haven't really talked about, and a lot of people don't talk about. My choices were based on necessity. They were based on making the best of the way things have turned out. But here's why that's exactly the plan I had and I still have going forward. Guys, I'm Phil at What's Up Boomer. And it was a year ago that I actually started this channel and made a 1-year commitment to it. What's Up Boomer is my channel where I'm sharing honest stories, lessons on retirement and legacy, and finding meaning in life after 60. So about a year ago, I was about to enter my qualifying year, which was going to be 66. I had just turned 66, and my qualifying year or qualifying date for Social Security for full retirement benefit would be 66 and 7 or 8 months. And I decided it was the best time for me to retire, not to retire, but let me address that for a second here. But it was the best time for me to go ahead and begin and not wait another 3 or 4 months, because the difference in my monthly payment was only going to be 20 some dollars. So I decided to put that application in. There's a 30-day wait period, and I began taking my Social Security, receiving my Social Security in February of this past year. Did I have fears? Yeah. And that choice was a big one, but I think it's going to play out that it was the right one for me. I think one of the biggest fears I faced when I made that decision was the fact and the reality that our working options, particularly when we're in our 50s, let alone our 60s, become very, very limited. There aren't many jobs, even in our professions, that we're going to be able to get. Job opportunities are just very limited at that time. And this was a time that I felt that was a fear that going forward, how am I going to make it? I had the job at Home Depot at that time, and I thought with that Social Security was going to be what it was meant to be, which was supplement my income. Now, one thing that crossed my mind was that I would go get a part-time job. I would maybe look for another job. I would look, like I said, maybe to work weekends on something else, supplement 2 jobs. And here's the reality. Not only are the working job opportunities limited, but let's face it, I think for the most of us, our physical and mental capabilities are taxed working 40 hours, let alone more than that. Looking at the Social Security payment, would I have enough? No. But while working at Home Depot, would I have enough? Yes, even to the point where I live a very simple life, and I keep it that way to give me the peace of mind and the freedom, ultimately, to save money and to enjoy life just a little bit better, even though I can slow down a little bit. So this first choice is really about the lack of choice. At 66 and now 67, the choices of what you can do if you don't have that nest egg are very put you into a box that you have to live and find ways to survive it. So the second choice, which was very clear to me, is I had to keep working. The benefits of that is it has kept me active, and quite active, keeps me on my feet for most of the day. So the second major choice that was obvious in my future was the necessity that I had to keep working. And this has given me a financial cushion, which has been a blessing, actually. with the adding of the Social Security, I'm actually able to save the majority of that little bit of extra that I didn't have. Now, is this going to set me up for the rest of life? No. And I see these financial advisors often saying, okay, now at 60, you might have 5 to 10 years of work left in your life. And so you probably should talk to a financial advisor about where you could put that for your money to grow. And I find that, I'm going to say it, that's not a choice for me. When you're 60, you don't have the time and the ability to experience and benefit from compounding interest. So finding a vehicle to do investments at this age, I don't find is a viable choice. What I am trying to do, though, is live simple, save as much money as I can, and be able to help secure at least a little bit of a financial nest egg. I hate that word, actually. Secure a little bit of a financial savings that could help me through my future years. It also, the job has provided me the opportunity for health insurance. And most of all, it has allowed me to stay active, to keep moving. And then lastly, of course, there's social interactions, not only with the public, but also with coworkers. And overall, those are all good things. Now, I will say this, the big downer of having to work or having a job in retirement, and I've seen literally hundreds of comments, hundreds of people commenting in my comments of how they, when they retire, can't wait to do something like this, and how exciting they think it will be to, say, do a job like at a hardware place where they can talk about people and their projects. Here's the real reality of that. You don't really have those opportunities as much. And the problem with working, I don't really care probably which company or who it is or what you're doing, is you become, what would be a good word, chained. Your time is now, I'm having a hard time saying this without being too brutal, but you have no control over your time for that 4 to 8 hours per day, whether you're part-time or full-time. You are basically told what you're going to do, when you're going to do it, and you're also going to be evaluated. And that gets kind of tough sometimes because we've already been through this before. And let me just say, that's the big part people don't seem to get, is that, for example, I'm helping cover a shift tomorrow. I have to be at work at 9 a.m. And from 9 a.m. to 5:30, I basically am told basically my time is structured not by me, but by a third party. That's not really the ideal way to do your retirement. I could think of better ways to stay active. And that's what I'm working for. But this working, though, allows or has allowed me to get to what I'm going to tell you is the absolute most important thing in retirement in terms of choice, and that is the choice of living debt-free. This is the number one threat to our independence and enjoying life and living a more stress-free life. You must be debt-free. I see in my future now, there's no more loans. I can only think of one or two scenarios that I may take a loan, and that would be out of a necessity situation. But breaking the bonds to debt, that's what you've got to do. The choices that I've had to make in coming to this time in, quote, retirement, and that is, you must be debt-free. So much so that it should be the number one priority. Forget everything else. Forget, maybe after the, quote, emergency funds, you see a lot of people teach about, Nothing else matters. No investments, no other planning, except to retire that debt, whatever you have left or whatever you have. Now, this is a huge decision and it's an individual one. I can't say this enough. You have to do what is best for you. This is my top. This is the top thing I had to do, and I had to make a choice that was best for me, not what advisors say, not with anything else. This is tough. This is complicated because you're going to hear a lot of different ways and things. And we've all heard them about how to do it, how to do the debt snowball, which I've never quite understood because basically there's negotiating of debt. There's a lot of different things that you have to do with debt. And again, as you go through this, you just have to do, I can't say it again or enough, that you have to make those decisions with regard to what's best for you and your situation. There's lots of things that can be done. You could move to a more affordable place in the country. I personally have thought about that, and I'm still considering that. Actually, I think a move is in my future. It's the biggest next decision I'll make within the next year. I think getting debt counseling is a great place to start if you just are overwhelmed and have no idea what is best for you and your situation. I believe that a debt counselor, the free agencies out there could provide you some really great direction and give you the options. There should always be options. And those options range from, a plan to accelerate the payment off of the debt all the way to bankruptcy. All of those things in between, negotiation, lowering of interest, asking for payoffs, all these different things that can be done. And debt counseling could certainly help you with that, as well as a good lawyer. The choice that I had to make, and the choice as I worked through this the last couple years, boiled down to this. Here's the reality. Anyone that's talking about how you have 10 or 20 good years left potentially, I don't think they know what they're talking about, because at least they don't know what they're talking about when it comes to regarding you. There will be some of us in this community that's going to live to 100. Stats are it'll be a very small number. There will be just a little bit more of us percentage-wise that will live to 90. But this idea that we're all going to live to into our 70s and 80s, that yes, that thank goodness. And medical care hopefully will become better and better as far as the advancements. But the real reality is nobody knows those years that you have left. And with that said, when we think of sometimes debts being 5-10 years away or this or that, we have to take that into account with our decisions of how we handle the situations we are in. And we do it the most ethical and moral way that's best for us. With regard to social life, there has to be changes. There have to be maybe some limits. The best thing about working the job I work is I'm pretty much scheduled every afternoon and evening on Friday and Saturdays. And that used to be my days where I'd go out and hang out with friends and spend money on food and drink. And a lot of money, that adds up in increments over time to be quite a bit of money. So it's nice to sort of have that. I don't have to make that choice. Where I will say that my life right now is somewhat out of balance because I think the social aspect of living is important. I guess my YouTube channel takes up the majority of my time outside of my work time. So it's important, they always say to have hobbies, etc. I used to play pickleball. I plan to maybe work that back in. Finally, with regard to the choices that I've made since taking Social Security, is that numbers matter. And what I'm talking about, obviously, is the budget. Right now, I've said I live a really simple life, but it's a happy life. It's a good life. I'm comfortable. My number is around 1,700. I can pretty much live life well, have all the food I want as long as I cook at home. I can, even with the savings, travel a little bit. I guess my position now my position since taking Social Security is really about saving, not investing. That's been a big change. And I'm not adverse to investing, but I really don't think, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm not looking for investments. I'm looking for opportunities to just put money away for the rainy day, so to speak, or more importantly, to be able to share it with friends and family as I see fit. Brings me a lot more joy, and it just seems like a better use of my money right now. What's interesting is, since getting myself in this situation where I am still working but taking Social Security, I don't find my desires to have new things almost non-existent in terms of clothes, cars, homes. I have no desire whatsoever to buy these things. I'm happy with where I'm at right now with what I have, the Maserati. Anyway, I just find that less stuff is less stress. And it seems like if it's less stress and leads to more contentment and happiness, that's the choices I'm making now. We know what it's like to get that new car feeling, but then within a few weeks, let alone a few months, it's just a payment. And that's above all things, I find making choices now is going forward. Is it going to require a payment? Because if it's a payment, I'm not interested. Overall, guys, 9 months since I started taking Social Security, I feel good. My direction now is to transition into a position of income producing that's not controlling me to get that income. So I want to control that. How am I going to do that? Well, one of those ways obviously is my YouTube channel. When I think about the last 9 months of having Social Security and working, I see that I'm setting myself up now in this short amount of time to do things in the next year I really wanted to do, and I'll be able to do it because of the decisions I've made in the last 9 months with regard to money, with regard to debts, and with regard to my activities that I've chosen to do or not do in the past year. And it boils down to this, and I can't emphasize this enough. When I make these decisions now, I make them with the full understanding of what's best for me. And I think if you can make decisions that will set yourself up for more peace, less worry, do that.